Why are some anime just so goddamn beautiful? I don't know. Probably witchcraft. Or aliens. But I'm not complaining. In fact, here are some of the very best. After making the top 10 most beautiful anime movies video, we're back with more aesthetically pleasing animation. But this time, we're looking at series. This list is purely based on my personal opinion, and I know there's lots of animes I've not seen. So if you think there's some stunning anime I'm missing out on, please let me know in the comments. First up is The Ancient Mage's Bride. This one popped up on my radar a while ago, and although I really liked the look of the art style, I wasn't totally sold on the plot. It's the story of an old and powerful mage who casually drops 5 mil on a teenage girl slave at a shady auction in order to groom her as his apprentice/future wife. Yeah, bit weird. But after seeing some positive reviews, curiosity got the better of me and I gave it a try. I actually wasn't disappointed, and it was just as beautiful as I'd hoped. It takes place in a world full of dragons, fairies and magic, which is already right up my street. There's cute and quirky characters, and the landscapes are stunning. Set across an English countryside, the traditional cottages and village setting really add to the fantasy elements. And I have to say, I also wasn't mad at the plot. Although definitely a little unhealthy in places, a lot of the relationships you see blossom in the show feel really genuine and wholesome. The series really takes the time to create a rich and full world, which you kind of end up wishing really existed. Next is something pretty different. Ergo Proxy was one of the very first anime I watched, and I totally fell in love with it. It's not one many people seem to have heard of, so if you've not seen it, I'd highly recommend you taking a gander. I still haven't seen anything quite like it in the anime world. It's a sci-fi mystery set in the distant future where humans have polluted the Earth so badly, they now have to live in connected domes with robot servants. In the story, there's a virus spreading, infecting these robots and giving them what seems to be a soul, as well as a strange monster on the loose, all of which the main character Riel is investigating. Yeah, it's a lot to unpack, but it's deliciously dark and weird with absolutely stunning animation. You might need to watch this show more than once to really understand the philosophies here, but trust me, it's worth it. Now this anime will give you all the feels. Your Lie in April is the story of a young pianist named Kosei. After a nervous breakdown on stage, Kosei can no longer hear the notes he plays, and his life becomes dull and monotone. Years later, he comes across a girl playing a melodica with so much joy that he starts to see life a little differently again. The series does a wonderful job of developing all the characters and giving them each a rich story, which ties into the main plot. The balance of emotional and comedic scenes works really well, and although the comedy can be a little bit forced at times, it's definitely needed to help you through the bits that just rip your bloody heart out. Mixing watercolours and CGI, this show creates some of the most beautiful scenes I've seen in an anime. Add this to a beautifully emotional-fueled story, you've got an utter treat for the eyes and the soul. And now for another anime on the darker side of things. Noin is also a slightly underground anime, it seems, but it's always been one of my favourites. From the edgy art style to the gripping story, the show creates an amazing and mysterious world. Here we meet 12-year-old Hakara and her friend Yu, who are quickly thrown into chaos when they meet Karasu, a member of the Dragon Knights from another dimension who are searching for something called a Dragon Talk. This is another show with a lot going on, but the incredible visuals and fast-paced story make it an absolute gem. Even with the heavy storyline, it manages to weave in some wonderful slice-of-life moments like only anime can. Now, at first glance, you might not think this would class as a beautiful anime, but the sound design is amazing, and the animation style changes with the mood of different scenes, which I'd never seen in an anime before. So this, along with the otherworldly images from another dimension, give the show such a fantastical feel, you can't help but be in awe. Next on the list is Eden of the East. This anime has a gorgeous style and an awesome soundtrack to boot. It's the story of Saki, who while travelling meets a man named Takezawa, who has lost his memory, but has a mysterious cell phone which is attached to an even more mysterious AI, who can grant any request Takezawa asks. We follow these two as they start to figure out what's going on and why Takezawa has lost his memories. I won't tell you much more, as I found part of the fun of this anime is slowly unwrapping the plot, but I have to say this is one of the most original storylines I think I've come across in an anime, and I just love the concepts. It's dark, it's funny, it's emotional, and it is sublime animation. Definitely one to look out for. Okay, so we all know the story of Romeo and Juliet, but this portrayal is a lot different to what you might think. For a start, there's floating islands, dragon steeds, and a huge enchanted tree. While the love story and the two families at war remain the same, there's been a lot of really interesting elements added, and I think it creates a really fresh and intriguing story. The design of the show plays with lighting incredibly well, and uses a running theme of flowers throughout different scenes to reflect changes in emotion. The soft and hazy style of animation complements the innocence of the young lovers, and it has a stunning soundtrack. It's not all romance though. There's a masked vigilante, some great action scenes, and a few unexpected twists and turns to the plot. I really enjoyed this series, and even if you're not a Shakespeare fan, you can't help but get carried away with the passion of these characters and the sheer beauty of the series overall. Next on the list is Carol and Tuesday. I really struggled with what to place in my top spot, and this one almost made it. More of a recent show, Carol and Tuesday aired on Netflix in 2019, and from the second I saw the artwork, I knew I had to watch it. Set in the future on a terraformed Mars, we see the story of two young girls from completely opposite backgrounds, but with the same love of music. Tuesday, a runaway from a rich but neglectful family, and Carol, an orphan trying to make it on her own, we follow the story of these two as they try to turn their passion for music into a way of life. The story flows so well and introduces many rich and interesting characters along the way. We look at themes of true friendship, loneliness, and how working in some industries can be really damaging without the right people around you. Being a show about music, you'd also expect an amazing soundtrack, and it does not disappoint. I may or may not have most of these songs in my car now, and I definitely don't know all the words. The show is funny, emotional, and covers some really deep topics. It also has possibly one of my favourite endings to an anime, so I cannot recommend this one enough. Finally, in the top spot we have Violet Evergarden. This is one of the most beautiful animated series I've ever seen. The detail in the artwork is exceptional, and the sound design is so dreamy it gives me goosebumps. It's a sad but hopeful story of a child soldier named Violet, who is cared for by another soldier named Major Gilbert. At the end of the war, Violet is separated from the Major and gets seriously injured, meaning she has to have robotic metal arms. The show follows Violet's integration into society and how she tries to find the meaning of the word love when all she's known is violence. She starts working as an auto-memories doll who writes letters for people to their loved ones. Through the many people she meets and the unfamiliar emotions she has to interpret into written words, she starts to understand how important relationships are in different forms and how they can enrich a life. The subtleties in the different character interactions and the development of each character really show how much thought has been put into this show and the philosophies it's trying to portray. I've never been quite so absorbed while watching an anime, and I am obsessed. If you've not seen this one already, it needs to be at the top of your list. So there we have it, my top picks for beautiful anime series. Whether it be for a quirky story, stunning animation, or a gorgeous soundtrack, they're all worth a look. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you liked this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya!